The struggle with boring corporate videos. Hello everybody, my name is Mark Bagnoli, I'm a cinematographer, and today we're looking at a corporate video with a really cool cinematic look. A lot of you filmmakers out there have to shoot corporate videos. They bring good money, but they are boring as hell. So this is the first shot we're looking at, and there are several things we noticed beforehand. First things first is the aspect ratio. As you can see, we are here in 3:2 aspect ratio, what is most of the time open gate. This is a look you get when you're shooting on a Panasonic camera, Lumix SR2, SX5, something like this, or an Alexa Mini, Alexa LF, or other full frame open gate cameras. Sony Venice also has an open gate modus. This is where you get this cool aspect ratio from. The nice thing about this aspect ratio is normally you shoot this aspect ratio and then you later can choose, okay, do you want 16:9? Do you want a more cinematic aspect ratio? Or biggest plus part nowadays is that you can crop your vertical for 9:16 content. So you have much more flexibility to deliver your clients different types of aspect ratio. But you don't have to. The aspect ratio 3:2 also works great for both. You can just post in this aspect ratio on TikTok, Instagram, and everyone would be fine. It's a nice middle way so that you don't have only to think about the center. So you have a little bit space on the left, on the right, what you like to show things. Because in a corporate video, you want to show things. You want to show the company, the location, and everything around it. How do we achieve a look like this? First, as I said before, choose your camera. They choose something. Probably this looks like Alexa Mini, open gate, LF, and then set your frame. So what they make here more special is try to work with more negative space. You don't always have to put this person. Normally people would probably just put her or him in the center of the frame, get closer, wide angle lens, done. So, but this is boring. When you choose to put him on the lower third of the image and let the rest of the image breathe. It gives so much more context, it's so much more artsy, and this is what a lot of people get wrong. When you want to show something, you don't have to fill the whole frame with it. Everybody understands, okay, this is an important part. Here's someone assembling something, and this is the area they're working on or in. The first thing after you put down the camera is choose your exposure. Don't think about too much about the person you will put in the center. First thing you should always check, okay, how dark or bright do I want my background to be? So I set down the camera, dial in my ND, and check, okay, I want to keep my highlights and I want the world to be this dark. Done. Now, after you set this exposure, this will improve your workflow a lot. Then you put your character in here. He's probably too dark because you set first the exposure of the room. But now you only have to put exposure on him. Would you do it the other way? Just put in your typical setup, your light dome with your 600D, put light on him, and then dial in everything. You have to try to make the background darker or brighter, just more complicated. Just start with the background, then drop your character in, then you're ready to light. So how do I lit the scene? There are probably ways you can do. As you can see, it's pretty contrasty, so we are not too soft with this light. No more of a cinematic tech type commercial. I would always go for a more cinematic high contrast look. So what they've probably done here, I don't know the surroundings, but first things I would put big flag on this side outside the frame, some few meters of molten so that there's no light coming from this direction, so we get this nice black contrast. Always try to build something like a C just around your actor. So like this, just out of frame, and it will block a lot of light. Even go as high as possible, but most of the time the light comes from above. This is most secure and best way to create depth. Then here in a station like this, they could probably build an 8x8 frame, butterfly with grid on it and shoot a light through it, but I don't think it looks that soft. On a setup like this, probably something like I said before, 600D with a light dome, a big one, 150 I would always use. Don't use this 91 only when you don't have the space, because I think it looks always like YouTube videos. This 90 centimeter softbox give you this tech YouTuber or general YouTuber vibe, and this is not some look you want. That's the reason you go for the bigger one most of the time. Or some of my favorite lights to use is the Godox 600, which is basically the same size, just more square and pretty thin. So when you're in relation, this is your Godox light, with the softbox, and this is your 600D with the light dome on it. You can see how much longer this light is, and you have the same output, the same softness. It's just a light I like more. Setup is a bit more difficulty, it takes a little bit longer, but then you're more flexible on space, location, top light. So it's just a more universal light. So then this shot is done. Here you can choose. Most of the time a corporate video tends to use this orange teal feeling so that you have a bluer background, warmer skin tones. You can choose when you're not shooting raw. I would tend to dial in the white balance a little bit for that we have generally just a cooler look. Or when you worked several times this look, try when you visit the location the first time, take something like a smaller camera with you, like what you have, FX3, so Panasonic. It's even better. Imagine you're shooting on red and you have a Nikon ZR with you. Make a test shot, build your LUT in DaVinci Resolve, and then load it in Monitor. I mean, a lot of people ignore the step, but working with a LUT on the preview actually helps a lot. It's a thing I've done very much in my earlier days. Sometimes I just stopped it. Then when I start doing it again, I notice how much more my lighting and everything improved because I had the vision. I know how the image is going to look like, and I'm getting overall better results. Here, this is the close-up of the scenery, and we are really on a long lens. People tend to nowadays to ignore longer lenses, so they have their 24 to 70 and that's done. But there's so much magic on 85 and above, like 85, 100, 135. It compressed the image so much because now the background isn't important anymore. We want to isolate and focus more our audience on this guy fixing whatever he does here. And now that I'm looking closer, now when you working with a wider shot, you have to light harder because it's more difficult to create contrast. Now when you're going in for the close-up, you can actually see the light and the roll-off got a lot softer. So what you can do when you have your Godox or your aperture, just put now in between, you can put a half grid cloth 6x6 just in between so the roll-off gets a little bit better. And as you can see, we're also on angle, we have a little bit of top light going on here. Or you can actually see the source here in the lamp. It looks like the square source. Like I said before, just big Godox-like or a 6x6 butterfly, and then you get a look like this. Also, you can come closer with your negative fill, and then you're probably done. But my most important thing is try to shoot more 85 and above. You don't have to go crazy like 200 millimeters or something like that. But in this area, 85, 135, you create a look that is not so usual anymore because everyone is going more for this 12 millimeter look. This is one of the most difficult things to do in a corporate video is placing the workers in here. And I think they done here very cool way placing. Always try to think in groups when you maybe take a look at home set design or how you decorate a room because people are nothing more in this video is like decoration. So, and you decorate always in groups. You don't put two things together. Most of the time it's three because it looks more natural. Then work with different heights. Yes, you can see they choose very nicely a leading line of people on the stairs and then put the probably chef of this section in the center because he's the most important, but this would also look pretty boring. So they put three people here plus this machinery over here, and you get a really nice color balance with this because we have this yellow stairs here, and when you just had put the people without this thing here, we could have a lot of yellow here, and here everything would be dark and just those people. It's really clever that when you have the colors, a theme to work with, use it and try to balance out your shot with it. Because when the overall mood of the video is pretty cold, you need your warmer tones to break everything. Otherwise, it just looks very cold and not happy and not cool. And we want everything to be cinematic, but it's at the end of the day, it's a corporate video. The company shouldn't feel like the saddest place on earth. So just to make everything short again, when you try to position people, always try to work with heights and also with distance. Not everyone has to be on the same plane. You can put people here, you can put people here. Not everyone has the same importance and doesn't matter at the end of the day. Here also the biggest thing you can probably do is silhouettes. Always when you're indoor and want to show something outside, always expose for outside. You will have this crushed blacks and everything is pretty dark, but it will look much more cinematic. Don't try to half-ass it and expose for a little bit in here and a little bit there. Choose one side and that's it. Your life gets much easier, and because it's everything here is not important in the moment. Always try to lead the view of the viewer to where you want them to look at. And I want them to look at this thing here, and we frame it perfectly with the door, with the exposures. We create layer because we have something dark in front of a bright background, so it pops way more out of the frame and people will look at it. This thing is a hero shot, and you need these hero shots most of the time to show a few more employees of the company, and I think they done here pretty cool, because now I tend to work with a wider lens, because now when it's too much portrait, it gets boring, looks like these images of people on LinkedIn and everything. So when we choose here wider lens on a full frame camera with open gate, it's actually like this right now. That's pretty much the same angle, the same camera lens, the same everything. So because we use this wider lens, the image and the lines in the background extends and our image gets more three-dimensional. It just becomes bigger. We want the company to feel bigger, and that's what they're doing here. Also, going here for an extreme color contrast. When you knew we're working with these colors and we know their clothes are also complementary to blue, you can put your Asteras or sky panels or something in the background and really blue everything out. You can use blue light. This is no problem. RGB doesn't look always cheap when you know what you're doing, because in the end of the day, you can change the saturation. You can change this color a little bit. So when you can do, and you know this is the look I'm going for, you can actually use blue light without it being awkward. So if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate subscription from you. My name is Mark Bagnoli, and see you next time.